Than a month away from the NFL draft, and the Browns still have Baker Mayfield on their roster. So, Jeremy, what are you hearing about Cleveland's options when it comes to the former #1 overall pick, who right now clearly does not fit in their plans anymore?
Yeah, well, Field, I talked to a source involved who said Baker right now believes that Cleveland is slow playing this a little bit and that other teams are slow playing this too because they don't want to pay the $18.8 million salary. And so they're essentially going to wait to see if Cleveland will just agree to pay part of that, all of it, or even release him outright. So that's one option. The other is to just sit on him and wait, see what develops. I talked to a general manager this week who said that they should do that because after the draft, a team might have quarterback needs maybe they didn't fulfill, or there might be an injury at the position. But I've talked to a few execs that are shocked that there just isn't a lot of buzz around Mayfield and teams interested right now. They said he's put together 2 good seasons.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well, and some of that surprise is because people forget last year Baker Mayfield was essentially playing with one arm. He had his arm in a sling for a lot of the season, and though he didn't look good, he was playing injured. That used to be lauded, but now for Baker, whether it's because of his personality that people don't like or whether it's because of the poor performance through injury, there's not a huge market for him. I think a lot of that market has to do with the money that he's owed, but I still believe he is a starter in the NFL. There's 4 to 5 teams right now that are looking for a starter, and there's a lot of talk saying this year's draft doesn't have many current NFL starting caliber quarterbacks. So for me, I think Baker Mayfield deserves another shot.
And I'm not surprised at all because of the price tag. And you have to think about this, too. Cleveland drafted him in the first round. He was what they wanted at the quarterback position, and he had the keys, and it didn't work out. So they went outside and found somebody, and they paid him the most that any quarterback has ever been paid. So obviously, they knew more in the building than what we all know outside the building. And the consistency issues, the injury history, the 3rd and 10-plus issues that he was having, the Cleveland Browns knew they had to go out and get a piece. So what I think he should do, because of the fact that he was so in the hyper-focus, everyone's so focused on his performances, maybe take a year off, go be a backup somewhere, and kind of just recharge your batteries, fix your shoulder, and know that you can sit behind a starter and the next time you get an opportunity to take advantage of it. Because if he goes somewhere else, if he is traded and goes somewhere else and it doesn't work out, well, it's going to be even that much harder for him to have another shot.
And part of this seems like supply and demand, too, right? A lot of teams have sort of already cast their die with the quarterback or will wait till the draft. But, Jeremy, you mentioned that there have been some teams that have at least been exploring Baker Mayfield. Do you have any sense of teams that have been doing their homework on a potential Mayfield trade?
Well, I know Seattle is one team that has done the homework. They've watched film on him internally with their coaches. They've talked about it at the front office level, but it's complicated there because they have Drew Lock, they like Drew Lock, and they're working to re-sign Geno Smith to a deal. And, you know, he's played on minimum salary deals, but he actually played decently well last year, so he could get a little more money. So that complicates the process. Carolina has looked into it, but I'm not getting a strong sense that they have a lot of interest. I think if he is released outright, then you would have 4 or 5 teams majorly in contention. But on the trade market, it's just been pretty slow.
So I know people don't have a way of accepting this for some reason, but Seattle traded for Drew Lock because they wanted him in the trade. It wasn't like he was the difference between that deal getting done or not. They wanted him in that trade. So it seems like they do have some level of interest in him being their starter. But Sam, what do you think about the possibility of Seattle also adding Baker Mayfield, a guy who at least has some admirers, you would think, in almost every front office? I mean, it's not like he was, you know, the 3rd or 4th round pick. He was the #1 player in this draft just a few years ago.
I think it's a huge possibility, and I based that off of when Tom Brady retired. There was talks of Tampa Bay looking at Baker Mayfield, and so there's a huge possibility. I think Seattle wanted Drew Lock because if they didn't have Drew Lock, they wouldn't have had a quarterback. And so, yes, they see his potential, but you need to bring in someone else, whether it's through the draft, which they're exploring, or through Baker Mayfield, who can come in and compete. I understand Carolina maybe not wanting to go that route, but Seattle, you have this tough, gritty quarterback who you know what he can provide when healthy, and I think they should definitely look into it.
Okay, we'll be very fascinated to see where Baker Mayfield ends up.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.